Buddy as well. Again, my name is Scott Schilling. I'm an executive coach. I'm a international trainer and speaker, and I'm just really excited to have everybody here this evening. Thank you for joining me. We're going to take a look at rewriting our story going into the new year. Uh, Very thrilled to have everybody here on this journey, really towards building confidence and greater self-acceptance. Before we dive in, I want to take a moment to remind everybody that, we're not going to get into anything deep. This is a safe space, and each one of you should feel comfortable asking questions or voicing concerns, sharing whatever you feel. You can pop them into the chat. We'll work to answer that as quickly as possible. What happens in the group stays in the group, even though we're not in Las Vegas. Somewhere, somebody's watching from Las Vegas, I'm sure. So please feel free to speak up as we facilitate this and go through everything. So, what do the thoughts in your head really tell you? If you were to explain what type of person you were, what would you say? Would you focus on your appearance? Or how would you describe your personality? What would you list off as your accomplishments, whether personally or professionally or along the way, in virtually any area of life? The way we think about ourselves in private really creates a perspective that can be hard to shake when it comes to taking advantage of opportunities or taking risks and ultimately reaching our goals. So, share a word or two in the comments as to how you would describe yourself. Are you aggressive? Are you fun loving? Uh, just whatever. It'll help us all learn a little bit about each other as we go along here this evening. Many of us gain insecurities really by comparing ourselves to other people. And quite frankly, there is no comparison. You are uniquely made to be you. In reality, the closer you are to something, the more flaws you can see. So if you find somebody that is in a similar profession, or has the same number of kids, or a variety of different things, even the most perfect celebrity is really just a regular person with the same doubts and fears and things that they dislike about themselves. They got the same issues. The more mature I get, that's code word for older. The longer I've been on this planet, what I've really found out is it's really true. People do put on their pants one leg at a time and really all have the same things. Although they may seem buttoned up completely, pretty much everybody has got some junk in the trunk somewhere, So who's someone that you compare yourself to? And I guess the next part of that question is, how's that working out for you? Is that really serving you? With all the social media that we're exposed to these days, it's really easy to assume that our lives are not quite as exciting as somebody else's lives. They're dull or insignificant compared to what we see as we look through the highlight reels of life on social media. Well, keep in mind that what might look like the best vacation ever came with anxiety, maybe some letdowns, disappointments. We just don't necessarily see all that in our news feeds. I know my daughter said, "Daddy, you never have a bad day." Well, of course I have bad days. It's a myth to say you don't have bad days, but you're not going to see it out publicly. Why would you do that? It makes no sense. So the question is, do you use social media, and which platforms do you use most? And how does it make you feel after you're using it? Does it enhance you or detract from you from that side? So do you sometimes feel as though you're falling behind? I mean, all of a sudden a friend gets a new position, or uh, your girlfriend gets a new car, or all these different things happen. When you see your friends and families getting engaged, graduating with a degree, traveling, buying homes, all of a sudden it seems like they got their dream job. They're achieving their goals. It may seem as though you're not doing enough. Well, what was the last thing that you ever saw or heard that made you feel that way? We want to understand these things so that we can, again, share and be of service as we go through this. Do your mistakes keep you up at night? Every one of us has made mistakes in our lives. And if we don't, the question though is, what do we do with those mistakes? We don't all interpret them the exact same way. The way we think about our mistakes is all about perspective. In fact, instead of thinking about it as a mistake, as something you failed at, consider whether it could be actually a blessing in disguise. Garth Brooks had the song, Thank God for Unanswered Prayers. Can you think of a mistake or failure you experienced that ended up leading you to or into something great? Again, if any of these things come to mind, you may want to share them with everybody through the chat. That would be absolutely awesome. So let's do a little quick check-in. Somebody just popped on and is not muted. If you could mute, that would be awesome. Thank you so much.
Mute, okay.
If you agree with the following statement, you can just kind of either, nod your head or put something in the comment if you'd like to, something like in the chat. I feel ashamed of something in the past. Well, I don't know anybody that hasn't had some experience somewhere along the line that has bothered them in one way, shape, or form. Pretty simply put, right? So, have you ever considered the difference between shame and guilt? Guilt can actually be a positive thing, which ultimately motivates us to work towards better behavior. For example, if you are apologizing for breaking a glass at a friend's home, you felt that little tug that you felt like you needed to make that apology. It actually works to your favor. Shame, however, is really a paralyzing overall assessment of you as a person. Shame can really form the lens through which all self-evaluation is viewed. And so you got to be really careful. The fact is, if you truly want to have a better life, you need to watch out for shame, blame, and justification, really taking 100% responsibility for what you're doing. Another way to think about the difference between guilt and shame is being told, or maybe thinking through, that you did something bad versus being told or thinking that you are something bad. You are not bad or the issue. It's the action that really becomes that issue. So where does shame come from? Shame arises from all sorts of experiences, but is cultivated really by belittlement of our efforts or achievements or ideas. Have you ever done something that you were so proud of, so excited about, and somebody just kind of went, no biggie? And all of a sudden, you now had to create a different evaluation for what you thought was a really positive thing. These things are conveyed in repeated statements like, why are you doing it that way? Or what were you thinking? Or why can't you be more like fill in the blank? Shame can also come from traumas such as physical trauma or sexual or emotional abuse, as well as neglect, especially in childhood. So think about it. When the adults in your life who are supposed to be know the best tell you that you're wrong, you likely internalize that feeling for a long time. It probably stuck with you for quite a while. Bring shame to the light. So how do we disperse this shame? The less we talk about our shame, the more power it has over your lives. When you cultivate awareness about that shame and name it for what it is, you can cut it off and you can really lessen the power it has over you. Moving beyond shame means acknowledging and sharing your experiences with trusted people in your lives. The people who know that you aren't perfect but love you anyway. Their empathy will allow you to feel that sense of perspective and really come up with strategies for dealing with it. Brene Brown has just done some tremendous work on shame and vulnerability. And she said, when we bury our story, we forever stay with the subject of that story. If we own that story, we get to narrate the ending. Let that sink in for a second. That's pretty powerful stuff. So, how do you do it? Well, how about reframing it? Next time you start feeling down about yourself, think about the words, the vocabulary you're using to describe those feelings. When you feel bad about something, do you really feel guilty or embarrassed or humiliated? While all of these feelings are uncomfortable, they don't take aim at your self worth the same way that shame does. When you slip and fall, you're embarrassed, but you know that everyone slips and falls. It's not a failure on your part as a person. Take the time to analyze what you're feeling and why, and it'll help you untangle your demons and actually step down a more constructive path as you move forward. So, who you were does not define who you are. The past is truly that. In fact, it was so interesting just before this webinar, a friend shared a meme that was saying exactly that. I can't do anything about yesterday. I can only live today and beyond. The past is truly the past. And when you leave it there, you become more open to acceptance. It's hard to let go of the past sometimes because we feel as though, it's a big part of who you currently are. Well, remind yourself that every decision you made in the past was done to the best of your ability with the tools and the mindset you had at the time. In fact, there's a great mantra that you can take. I did the best I can with what I knew at the time. Now I know more. Now I can do more. Stop beating yourself up over the past. It doesn't do you any good. You can't change it anyway. Simply learn to utilize it to move forward. Everything you've learned from those experiences really shaped you into who you are today. Good, bad, or ugly, you wouldn't be who you are today without what has happened in the past. You're more capable today. You're better educated. You're more understanding than you were before, all because you've experienced more. One of the things that I say often in sales training is your first day is your worst day. Because after your first day, you have learned more, you have moved forward. Your life is a companion with whom you've got a long-term relationship, and every relationship has its ups and downs, its lulls, and its action scenes. Think of it this way, that as you picture your life as a whole rather than a simple series of events, when you think of your life as something that you have a relationship with, it's really easier to adjust your attitude to create what you want out of it. I think you'll discover that when you change the way you think about your life, you'll be able to play a far more proactive role in your life. And isn't that what you're doing? You're rewriting your story. So nurture that relationship, whatever that is to you. Any relationship is capable of falling into a conflict or a disconnection if it's not nurtured. The more time we spend with people, the more time that they probably want to spend with us. The less time, absence makes the heart grow fonder, but it also separates that relationship. When problems are ignored or when you start going into a autopilot mode for too long, you need to step back and really gain some perspective. Think about where you are in life and ask yourself, how are you feeling? Are there problems that keep you from moving forward and feeling unfulfilled? If you were on last week's webinar, we were talking about doing a life audit. So many people are going to their job every week, their job, but they're feeling unfulfilled. They're just not living their true purpose and feeling great about it. Well, by reflecting on the relationship regularly and making adjustments accordingly, you'll learn that it's not as difficult as you might think to change tracks and really head in a new direction. I know I did that 17 years ago, and it was an amazing opportunity to go and live my purpose and serve more. I mean, this webinar is an example of being aligned and being able to serve more people through technology. Your life's narrative is shaped by your perceptions, which are really created by your belief system. In other words, your reality is based entirely on the way you think about things. Right now, you're creating your own reality based on the stories you tell yourself and the way you interpret the world around you. So, is there something that you've acknowledged before that maybe is kind of hanging there or making you feel differently than you'd really like to feel? Again, you are your life's narrator. You can change those things. Do you know your triggers? The next time you're feeling especially down or find yourself spiraling, try to figure out what got you there. Where's that negativity streaming from? Was there something that you saw on TV? Was it something that was said? Was it a particular subject matter? Did it have to do maybe with your parents or friends or even childhood? Do your best to connect the dots, and this will help you identify your triggers or what makes you feel especially emotional. Now, the reason you want to do that is because once you know, you can do some things about it. The question is, do you know what your triggers are? Can you name them out loud? If you'd like, go ahead and share them in the comments section, and we can talk about that towards the end of the webinar. When you feel triggered, have a plan to interrupt that downward spiral. Now, that might be a certain thing. It might be listening to a particular song. It might be reading a particular scripture or Bible verse or spiritual verse of some sort. It might be calling a friend. In other words, put a plan into action to create a plan interrupt. Many people turn to things like alcohol, drugs, and other unhealthy distractions to help them deal with their pain. But quite frankly, there are far better ways to redirect your thoughts. So, right now, what do you do to help combat your negative thoughts? I'll give you one of mine. I created a memory box. A friend of mine suggested that I take all the thank you notes, the cards, the letters, anything that has any kind of sentimental value to me, and actually put it in one location, because there will be a day where you're just not your best. And I can actually go to my memory box and I can read how I have helped and served other people, which then kind of takes me back to, that's why I do what I do. Now, everybody needs that kind of thing. I'd suggest building a memory box. That's the way I do it. You can try a mantra, push back against the negative thought with a positive statement. If you're feeling unloved, repeat the phrase, I am enough. I am worthy of love. Affirmations are an amazing thing. If you're feeling ashamed, try something like, the past is the past and I'm capable of writing the next chapter, however I see it. Or if you're feeling lost, repeat the words, I trust my intuition. Things come easily to me. There are millions of mantras or affirmations out there. I am powerful beyond belief. It's up to you to evaluate and find out what actually works for you. You can even make your own, and just be sure that you use positive words and avoid the can'ts and shouldn'ts and don'ts. Always express things in the positives, not the anti-negative. I am going to be financially free as opposed to I am reducing debt. You don't want to focus on debt. You want to focus on financial freedom. Make sense? Hopefully that one hits home for somebody here. And then try some self-care. Self-care refers to your own physical, mental, and spiritual well-being and happiness. I know I've created a quiet time in the morning. I have a very specific regiment of what I do. Some days it's longer, some days it's shorter, but I work to do it every day to give myself that time to, be introspective, to get quiet, to commune with God, to do the things that I want to do. Self-care might mean taking a walk in the park or staring out a window. It might mean cooking a nutritious meal or even planning a night out with friends. How to do it is up to you. In order to properly participate in self-care, you must learn how to listen to your body and be in tune with it, with what it wants. If you're feeling depressed, understand that your body is probably telling you to switch things up and change the way that you've been treating it. When you're feeling achy, it's your cue to take a few minutes to stretch or maybe do some yoga. Get out of the chair more often, walk a little bit. If you're feeling tired for no reason, get out and move. Give your body a reason to be tired. If you're tired, earn it. Earn your tired. You know, practice makes perfect. And quite frankly, almost correct, but perfect practice makes perfect. With practice, you'll become more adept at seeing your triggers, uncovering why they hurt you, and moving beyond and letting negative thoughts that accompany them go. Over time, you'll start implementing more self care into your routine and readjusting the way that you see the world in a far more positive light, seeing the lessons as mistakes you make. Now, I've created for my coaching clients 5 questions that I suggest they use in any situation to turn it into a learning opportunity. What's the lesson? What's the gift? What did I do to create this? How can I modify it next time to make it better? How will this serve me the rest of my life? Now it truly takes any incident and turns it into a an event that will be of service to you. Let's just say you have a car accident. What's the lesson? Probably should have been paying closer attention. What's the gift? You truly didn't get hurt. What did you do to cause it or set it up in action? Well, there might have been a little distracted driving. Uh, What would you do modify it next time to make it better? Pay attention to the road, stop looking at your phone or texting. How's this going to serve you the rest of your life? Tell your family, your friends, the people you love that you had a close encounter, and please don't do that. We're all smarter than this. Great. Now it's a learning event. You always have a choice. A set of twins can have the exact same childhood trauma growing up and yet end up in 2 totally different paths. One could get mixed up in drugs, become homeless, find themselves in toxic relationship, while the other goes to college, finds love, and has a successful career. When asked how they ended up where they are today, they have the same answer. After everything I've been through, how could I have turned out any other way? The moral of the story is that you always have a choice of how you interpret your circumstances, the events in your life, the interactions with others. Quite frankly, it's not the events in your life that determine the outcomes of your life. It's the events plus your responses to those events that determine those outcomes. You can choose to look at what's wrong, or you can choose to look at what's right. Your choice. Either way, you have the opportunity. Now, this class was put together with a bunch of resources, and instead of putting them up on the screen here, I would just say to you, if you want the resources, whether you're here live or listening to the replay, if you want these resources, simply send an email to scott@scottschilling.com and say, I'd like the resources from rewriting my story. And I'll send those to you absolutely free. I want you to have all this information. I do a fair amount of research getting ready for this. And so I want you to have those if you want them. The other thing that I wanted to let you know about this evening is I have a brand new book coming out. And the reason I'm doing these webinar series, again, every Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, I'm going to do a free topic webinar based on a lot of the things in my book. Now, this was about rewriting your story. I've had to rewrite my story, and me rewriting my story is a story in my book. I had a near-death experience. Actually, one of the people who's on this webinar right now was there when it happened. So I'm honored by that. Last week, one of the people that was there or that was on the webinar, I had known since kindergarten, since fourth grade. And that story is in this book. I mean, it's just really funny. That Sucks, What Now? Real world solutions for getting through what you're going through is really about how to fight through the not so fabulous parts of life. Now, I've had some great success in my career. This is the absolute opposite of a pity party. This is how I was able to fight through some really unfortunate situations and still feel good about them and call them all lessons. If you want to learn more, simply go to tswnbook.com. Take a look. I'm honored that Jack Canfield wrote the foreword to this book. I mean, other than the Bible, Jack has sold more books than any other book ever created with the Chicken Soup for the Soul series. So again, take these tools. I encourage you to go forth. Thank you so much for taking the time out to be here tonight. I know your day is busy and your time is important. I love getting to chat with you. I'll unmute and hopefully there was some value here. If you have any questions, we can talk through some of those things. I also want you to know that I'm proud of you being here. You had a choice, and rewriting your story is one of those things that sometimes people don't admit they want to do. And so moving forward and getting a better future version of yourself is awesome. If you have any questions afterwards, you can either post them in the chat or email me at scott@scottschilling.com. This kind of wraps it up. I really enjoyed our time together today. And if you have any of those questions, please send them to me. I'd also love any kind of notes on maybe what your greatest takeaway from this. If you feel you need more support, I'm here. I'm happy to help you. Obviously, I'm an executive coach. I'm a trainer. I'm a speaker. Please take advantage of my new book offer. There's also a $100 travel savings gift bonus for every book that's purchased in this pre-release time. So I encourage you to do that. Let me stop the share on that. Let me come back to my little old picture, if I can get me, which is kind of funny, and just say, does anybody have any questions or anything? Can I answer anything for anybody? Bill, I'll certainly send those resources to you. All good things there. Anybody have any questions? Well, if not, I'll just say thank you for joining me here this evening. Hi, Mary Beth.
Hi.
How are you?
Long time no see.
Yeah, really.
Just wanted to know, could you just spend a minute on, you do executive coaching, and could you tell me about, what that entails?
Well, basically, what I do is the beauty of Zoom like this is being able to really dig into people's issues one-on-one. And that used to come far more in a face-to-face personal thing. I still do that. But what I do is we create a series of 1 hour coaching sessions to really work with you on whatever it is you want worked on, whatever you need worked on. And so the best thing to do is let's set up I'll give you, I'll put it in my, let me put it out to everyone here. This is my consultation link,
Okay.
And please feel free to just go there and book a time, and let's talk and explore how I can be of service to you.
Oh,
That's
that would,
all my desire really is in between the books and the things I do.
mm,
I've been very fortunate. I didn't say it this webinar. Sometimes I do, but I've had 19 mentors over my career.
mm.
And the one thing that I said to all of them is, give me everything you got and I won't keep it. I'll use it with my students. And
I like,
so the blessing of that is um, sheer number. Um, I've learned a whole lot of stuff.
I'm sure. I'm sure. Well, we were in the advanced class at Jack's.
Mm-hmm.
God, I don't even know what year that was, 2008 maybe, or 9.
Right.
And so since then, I have written a chapter in one of his books, this
Awesome.
Roads to Success. But yeah, there's other things that I would like to, explore with you.
That would be wonderful. Just please please book a time, and we'll just chat and see how I can be of service.
Great. That's wonderful. Are you doing
Perfect.
this every Tuesday for what, an hour or a half hour?
Well, it depends. Some presentations are run a full hour. Some are a half hour. Some are 45 minutes. It's really kind of what the content is.
Okay.
Like last week, I did how to do a life audit. The first week, I did the science behind happiness.
Can I get the life audit and see
Yes.
how,
Yeah.
how do I do that?
Just send me an email to scott@scottschilling.com, and I will send you links to both of those.
Okay,
Feel free
great.
to share them as well.
Okay.
But it was very interesting. I was speaking in Phoenix this week, and one of my grade school, middle school, and high school friends came to hear me speak. We were laughing about the fact that last Tuesday night I did a webinar, and there was an attendee for the webinar that I've known for 57 years.
I know, it's unbelievable, isn't it? We're getting up there.
I mean, from kindergarten, right? And so
Amazing.
we were laughing, and but that's the beauty of what you have with Zoom these days and being able to do this. And so I love it. I love being able to connect with old friends and be of
Yeah,
service.
that's very good. Do you do anything on YouTube?
Oh yeah, yeah.
You do.
That's where everything will actually be hosted. This is being recorded. You'll also get an email probably with tomorrow or the next day with the link to this as well.
Okay.
And please feel free to share it. But every Tuesday night, I won't. The 24th and 31st of this month will not have
Right.
be scheduled because of obviously Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve.
Right.
But we'll go back to every Tuesday night, 7 a.m. Central Time. We'll go ahead and have topic, good solid topic
Yeah.
webinars.
Yeah. It's good to refresh on these things. Absolutely. Good.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thanks for joining me. Anybody
Okay.
have any questions or want to chat? And if not, we'll just call it a night and say thank you very much for joining me. All right. Well, thanks for being here all. We'll talk to you all soon.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.